I'll do it for her.
Bloody thing on.
I'm recording all of it, mate.
Oh, all of it. We
All
got
your bloody...
Yo!
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Vibes.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
curls
using a
popping.
friend's
Okay.
AirPods.
Okay,
What's up?
curls. Your curls.
Oh. No, fresh wash and go this morning. Had to make sure the curls
Good.
were moist. Only the best.
They do look good. They do look good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a chill day. Sundays, love Sundays. They're a
Yeah,
vibe.
right.
Church,
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
it's been really, really good. John, okay, we're gonna do a little this and that, this or that, just so that people get to know you, those that don't know you, in a little bit. So, okay, summer. Would you rather summer or winter? What's your?
Winter.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Reason?
What's
Just
that? I don't know. I don't like heat. Like I just don't.
okay, right?
Yeah.
No.
I've just never liked the summer. Yeah, I feel like and it's so bad because during the summer, at least in Australia, like you could only like try to get so cold. You know what I mean? Like yeah. Whereas like
Right.
in winter, you just put on more layers and you're fine.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Hmm.
Definitely. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Do you have a dog?
Yes, I do. Her name is Coda, and she's the best. Cats are the devil. So.
I think so too. Same. Literally the same for me. Melody or lyrics? That's a hard one.
Yeah. Lyrics? No, just kidding. Melody. Yeah.
Right. I'm melody too, which is actually
Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
Okay. The beach or the mountains?
The mountains, for sure.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. Nighttime, daytime.
I think like I don't know, for different reasons. Nighttime, like all of my like I get weirder ideas at nighttime when it comes to like creative stuff.
Uh,
But
yeah.
daytime because I can be more productive during the daytime.
Okay. Makes sense. So,
Yeah.
John, where are you from? Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Florida, Wesley
Yeah.
Chapel.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, now I am living in Sydney.
Yo, shout out. That's cool. So John, you are an artist, singer, songwriter, performer, like you do everything literally. When did this when did you start getting passionate about music? What was your introduction to music? And
Yeah. So I think it was in about like 10th grade, so like year 10. I was about 16.
mm,
And I had just started going to church. Um, and a friend of mine invited me like to a youth group, and I saw a guy like it was like a Christmas like production,
yeah.
and I saw this guy singing, and I was like, yeah, wow, like I feel like I should be doing that.
Okay.
And then after that, I went like immediately into just everything. Like I went into drums. I like learned like bass, and then it wasn't until like after I learned guitar that like once I started learning like acoustic, I was like, I felt like I should be singing. I have friends as well. Hi, Latif.
Oh,
Um, I was like, I
Latiz.
felt like I should be also singing, like the songs that I'm like as I was playing, like I just naturally felt like I should be singing,
Right.
and then that's how singing like came to
Yeah.
be.
Oh, that's cool. Was there a moment where you were like, "Oh, I definitely love this. Like, I'm passionate about this." Um,
Yeah.
or it kind of just
Um,
unfolded as you went.
I think it definitely unfolded. I think like as I got like more introduced to music and like just kept doing it, like naturally, like you're just kind of just hyped just to be a part
Mhm.
of anything
Anything,
at
yeah,
that
yeah,
point. And
yeah,
in youth group, like where everybody's kind of giving you a shot, you're just like, oh yeah, like absolutely, I'll do it.
yeah.
And I honestly, I don't think it was until like I came here, like about like 4.5 years ago, um, or like just before that, that I was like, I actually think that I should pursue this a bit deeper because I feel like it has
Like,
more of a meaning than what I've given it in the past.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what that was that what made you decide to come to Sydney? Was
Yeah,
that
there was a lot of different things
yeah,
going into Sydney. Like my wife and I, like at the time, like we kind of felt like we were like we knew that something was coming up next, and we
mhm,
knew that like there was something that we needed to pursue. And so
right,
like we started thinking about going to Hillsong College, and we're like, why not? Like we're young, like we were like barely married at the time, like we had just gotten
right,
married.
mm-hmm,
And so we're like, why not? Like let's pursue it. And even like as I was like picking like our classes and stuff like that, like because you know you get
hmm,
to pick between vocals and songwriting.
right,
I was like, oh, like maybe I should pick vocals because I might get a chance to, I don't know, like sharpen my like vocal craft a bit more. But then I really felt drawn into songwriting because I was like, I feel like that's where I want to be. Like I want to be writing songs. Um, if whether it be for me singing or for other people singing or just
mhm,
to empower the voice of somebody else, like that's just kind of where
yeah,
like I felt. So there was a lot of contributing factors into going into Sydney. But
yeah,
definitely felt that music was one of those.
yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And were there, I guess, in the initial you guys moving to Sydney, were
Mm.
there like things that consciously you had to choose to leave behind, like to take that risk? Was it an easy process for you guys? Or
Definitely not.
yeah.
um, yeah, I think a lot of things that we had to leave behind. Like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's the literal sense that we had to leave behind a lot of
Right.
things because we could only bring 2 suitcases. Uh, so
Real,
yeah,
real struggle.
yeah, whatever clothes you think would last for that season was pretty much what you could bring. And
Oh
um,
my God.
but yeah, I mean, like we had to leave behind like a lot of friends. We had to leave behind a lot of mindsets as well.
Talk
That we
about that bit, if you
Yeah,
would.
even just kind of like a bit of like a small town like mindset, like of
Mhm.
um I mean, they talk about it like all the time here, like you go from um thinking that you're some type of like big fish, but in reality like there's so much of a bigger pond.
Right.
And having to deal with comparison on a completely different level like never before. And even some things like mindsets in terms of beliefs, like you know
Mm-hmm.
when you're in a smaller town and everything, you oftentimes the voices and everything that speak into your beliefs are quite siloed, they're quite filtered.
Right.
But when you're brought into like a bigger community, there's so much room for
Mm-hmm.
your beliefs to be challenged and for your mindsets to be challenged and how you perceive things to be challenged. So yeah, I think in that regard, like we did have to leave behind a lot if we wanted to
Yeah.
honestly just pursue what God had for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's that's amazing. So looking back, it's been 4 years now? No, five?
4.5.
Um, 4.5. Amazing.
Yeah.
Looking back, did you see where you are right now? Like, did you ever dream of where you are right now?
Not even close. Um, um,
And what are some of the like, oh, like it's definitely way better than I could ever dream of, or and what are yeah, tell us about that.
yeah. Um, yeah, I definitely don't think because when we came like to Australia, like we very much came with like a kind of like a blank slate. Like we honestly didn't have much of an idea of why we were here. We just kind of felt
Right.
like it was just like the thing that we like. We just felt that we needed to be here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so like we kind of had like ideas like, oh, it would be cool to do this, and at the beginning of each year, like, um, I felt like God would kind of like stir like in my heart to like pray over certain things, and I would look back over the years and see that He very much did those things. Um, and so yeah, like I never could have imagined really
Mm-hmm.
any of it. Like I think God's been really kind, but also I think what's interesting as well is that in the midst of it, like when people are thinking about like the dream scenarios or the dream situations and everything, it's almost like pretty much everything leading up to that dream scenario is an actual nightmare sometimes.
True.
There
True, true, true.
there's a lot of messy waiting. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of why God am I here? There's a lot
Mm.
of is all of this something that I just kind of made up, or is it something that you actually have for me?
Yeah.
Like did I dream this up because of some like weird westernized ideal of what success is, or is it something that you actually have for my life? Like those are all real questions that are asked like when you're pursuing what is your dream, and how you've defined your dream and what you base that definition off of. And so yeah, I think in the midst of all of that, like I almost feel like in the journeys leading up to the dream scenarios, like God has actually taught me so much more, to the point where when I'm at those situations where I'm like this is actually crazy, this is happening, it's almost like, yeah, like it almost like not passes you by, but you're almost like, oh wow, like I built this up a lot more in my head than what it actually is. And there is so
Yeah.
much more if I would have paid attention during the journey, that I could have learned if I would have paid attention more,
Wow.
instead of just idealizing this whole thing over here. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been very
Whoa.
interesting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
No
Thanks.
worries.
That's dropping some gold. Um, what are like in what you've just shared in the journey to where you are, in some of the things you had to personally or go through, what role did music have in that? And for you, if it did, um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on the one side of it, by the way, your questions are so brilliant. Thank you so much. Um,
Thanks.
this is so great. I think like on the one side of it, like music, um, I've never been the kind of person like when I listen to music that I listen to music that should like uplift my mood, if that makes sense. Um,
Right. Listen to all the
you know how some,
sad.
yeah. Like when some people, like when normal people are sad, they listen to like happy music to try and make themselves happy again. But I'm just like, no, let me feel sad. I want to
Oh,
wallow in my
wait,
emotions.
wait. I'm gonna cut you short. Are you a type 4 Enneagram?
100%.
I'm a type 4 too, so I was like, yeah, I listen to sad music when I'm sad.
Yeah, just like, ah,
Cool. Anyway.
yes. Feel me. Yeah. So I think in one sense, like music and worship music has been very empathetic and therapeutic for me, and helped me put voice to a lot of what I'm feeling and what I'm going through. And then on the other side of things, like my own music, a lot of the times that like that I've even like written a song or anything has actually been out of these like very tense, very like emotional moments in life. And a lot of the times that the melodies and the lyrics that like I've put to paper and that I've put out there and stuff like that are very much what I'm feeling right in that moment. And so, like, in one sense, where music is therapeutic and empathetic for me, on the other side, my own music and like releasing like my own like pop stuff and everything has been a risk in the sense that I'm inviting you into like my world, and as I like you know, keep going and then keep diving into that like authenticity and allowing more layers to uncover and stuff like that, that is a risk. That is a very strange feeling, because like when you put the music out there and stuff like that, you're like, ah, like I hope people like this.
Like, oh,
Because yeah, because this was actually like quite a difficult time for me to talk about. So it's like, yeah.
yeah,
And then also hoping that in turn, it's almost like this whole cycle that, like, you know, whereas music started empathetic and therapeutic for you at this point,
mm,
you're hoping that as you go through some of the things and you put out your own art and everything, that it actually does the same thing for another person. And you're just kind of keep feeding this cycle of art that heals essentially. So
wow.
yeah.
Wow, I love that. You did mention that let me get back to it. Yeah, you did mention how I guess with your music stuff, you were just
Mm,
like you're hoping that it will like someone will like it and whatever. Like,
yeah.
was that did that ever hold you back? Did that ever
Hmm. I
did that ever
think,
up? Yeah.
yeah, I think a couple of times, like it would kind of hold me back, especially like when just writing like the first few songs, even just in like songwriting like workshops and stuff like that. Just
Right.
like writing it and being like, ah, like I really like this. I don't really think anybody else is gonna like this. That's okay. Let's move on to the next
Yeah.
idea. Um, and yeah, I think that's unfortunate because like I don't know. I feel like in one sense, like I understand like why like you should make art that is palatable and stuff like that, and that actually like people can connect with. But
Mm,
at the same time, like as an artist, like if you have to really balance that spectrum, because if not, then you're giving way too far into like commercialism and consumerism rather than
mm,
authenticity. And so really like balancing that out. But yeah, I think I mean, it's a journey that I'm still on, like even like some of the worship stuff that I write and everything, I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know if I should really put anything to this because I'm like, I don't really think people like this.
Yeah.
But at the
True,
same
true.
time, like balancing the fact like no, like this is an actual prayer that I have. This is something that like me and God are working through at the moment. And so I
Mm,
don't know what's going to happen with this piece. I don't know what's necessarily going to happen with this song, this lyric, this melody,
mm,
but I'm going to
mm.
put it out there and trust that the best will come of it. Um, if it
Yeah.
connects with one person, that's cool. If it connects with 1,000, like that's cool. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Did you, after like releasing stuff for your first song or whatever, did that kind of like lighten everything? You're like, oh, it's not that like I feel like
Mm,
many times we're talking now about like just taking that extra step. Like there could be people listening here who are songwriters, who are um, musicians or whatever, and they actually want to take that next step to sharing whatever they are writing or put out a song. And so, but I feel like sometimes we hold ourselves back, just like you're
mm.
saying, like in some ways, like oh, the fear of like oh, will someone like it and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about um, like what you'd say to someone like that, or what was the
Yeah.
journey like for you that you could help encourage another.
Yeah, I think, well, like specifically when it comes to music or really any art, like because like
Yeah.
it's such a subjective thing, like there's always going to be like a few people that aren't going to like it. And like I think if that's the thing that holds you back, um, I mean then I'm so sorry to say this, but like you might as well not be doing anything because like there's always going
Oh,
to be somebody, there's
oh,
always going to be somebody that doesn't like your stuff. And that's inevitable. And so like to I don't know, if you genuinely feel like you as an artist like cannot live without this piece or this like something actually going out, you know what I mean? And being adequately expressed. And then, and on the purpose side of things, like praying and hoping that it actually connects with somebody at the moment where they need it. Um, yeah, like you have to get it out there. Like, and you can't let a couple of like subjective opinions hold you back. And I feel like it's so interesting as well because art is such a personal thing. We're used to people in other areas and other like subjects and stuff like that. We're used to subjective opinions and kind of brushing them off and being like, oh, that's just their opinion, who cares? But because art is so personal, we feel sometimes that when somebody doesn't like the art, they don't like us. And that's not necessarily the case. They may not like the taste of the music, they may like the genre, they may not like, that specific medium of art, and that's totally okay. That shouldn't stop you as an artist. And like for me specifically, like I guess when it came to like the whole like the Alex Mason stuff and everything, like it got to the point where like for the first couple of songs I was like, all right, like this is the sound and everything. But then like for the other two, I was just like, actually, like I kind of just want to release music that I like. I'm going to write songs. And if this is a song that, and Harrison just joined. I love Harrison. But
What's
if
up?
these are the, and I it's funny that he joined just at the moment that he did, because like I've had these conversations with him as well. That like if these are the songs that I like, I'm just going to write songs that I like and I'm just going to put them out there.
Right.
Because this is just who I am. And if my genre of music and everything like, like is on a spectrum and stuff like that, like that's totally okay, because that's me as an artist.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many things that could hold you back.
Right.
So many things, and it would be so
Right.
unfortunate for the world to be, and not in a pretentious way, but so unfortunate for the world to be robbed of your art, your expression, because of
Right.
what a few people have to say
Right.
about it. Yeah.
Right. That's a word. That is a word. So John, just this past couple of weeks, I did put out two videos on YouTube about creativity and crisis, as the world
Mhm.
has been going through so much. What would you? I want to pose a question which I asked a number of these people. What would you say is our role as creatives or with our art in times like this? And what does that look like? Could it look like anything? Does it help in any way?
Yeah. I think to answer the last bit of that question, I think it definitely helps.
Mm,
Because it's another medium for awareness. It's
mm,
another medium for like a voice to be heard.
right,
And I think that more people who like, express that and give voice to the injustice that is happening in the world, like it definitely needs to be out there. I think as Christians, as
mm,
Christian creatives, 100%. Like I feel I feel like as Christian creatives, we should actually be leading the tone when it comes to stuff like this. Not in the sense that like Christians should only be the ones that are having a voice in this, like not at all.
yeah,
Because obviously the current climate has shown that not only Christians have, actually on the other side of it is predominantly people who actually are not a part of a church that have had a voice in this sector.
right,
And so I think as Christian creatives, like we 100% need to step up, and be okay with speaking into the injustice. Um, and we talk about like, like prophetic ministry and stuff like that. And oftentimes that means that we allow like a certain space within songs for free worship and stuff like that. But actually the office of prophecy is so much bigger, than just the 30 seconds that you allow in between songs. And it requires action. And it requires speaking to the society and speaking to like the powers that be, and how they've been unjust. And so I think that, as creatives, not only do we need to be putting music out there, but we actually need to be like on the forefront of things, like with action. Like you see the numbers that are on the screen. Like you call the numbers, you
right,
sign the petitions, you send the emails.
right,
What bigger voice can you have than to join a collective group of voices that are standing for something, in the terms of protests, in the terms of even silencing, even silencing like the, I don't know, consumerism of just constantly like needing music to digest and stuff like that. Like, what if you just decided, hey, in this season, I'm actually not going to put out the typical music that I typically put out, and I'm going to put all of my efforts right now towards just action. And so I think there is an artistic side of things that we definitely need to be consistently doing, because in the times of crisis, the world does need beauty. It doesn't need beauty to comfort it. It needs beauty to confront it. And I think on the other side of it, like, yeah, there needs to be action. And so balancing that always. But yeah, sorry for the rant.
I love
but...
that. No, much needed, okay? Much needed. Because you actually are speaking by example, because you have been what you're saying. Like, with whatever you've contributed, with the fact that you're actually taking action each and every day. You're having these conversations, you're not taking the back seat, but you're leaning forward. And so that's why I think it was very vital that you ranted, however you did. You said you needed it. And I hope there's people listening who are gonna be like, yeah, like I definitely need to step up in this area. And so we're actually done for time. We have like 5 minutes
left. Oh my goodness.
Anyone? I haven't like seen any of the comments. If anyone has a question, they could pop it through. I don't know if anyone popped through any before.
It's mainly Dan Fuller commenting on my music.
All right. Wait, so you did touch about Alex Mason a little bit. We'll just get into that. What's Alex Mason?
Yeah. So that was thanks, Sarah Funky, by the way. Yeah, so that was a bit of a pop project that I did. I'm talking with like Harrison and stuff now just about like what we can do to put out more stuff out there potentially in the future. Right now I've been like mainly working on like worship stuff and everything, but yeah, like the pop music side of things, like it really was like what I was talking about before. It was very much something that like I felt like at the beginning of, I think it was 2018, that there was just stuff that I like had to get out, and there was stuff that I was definitely working through and I needed to get that out there. And yeah, like I think in a lot of ways, like it was therapeutic in the sense that like there were a lot of different like ideas and situations that I was processing, and I got to let people into that world a little bit through catchy melodies and through like pop music and stuff like that. It was surprising that people actually liked it. Like
okay.
Because like, to be honest, like I think like there were some of the songs that like I wrote and everything that like I still don't really like think that they're that good. And that's probably just because like I'm just hypercritical and that's just me and everything. And so yeah, like when people were like actually liking it and stuff like that, I was like, oh my God, far out. Like
oh, okay.
Yeah. And honestly, like the reason why I stopped it for like a good bit, and in some ways I think it was good because like one, the managing side of it was just a lot of work that I was not ready to put in at the time. Like I was still finishing degree papers are like massive. I am done.
Well
Praise
done.
God. And so yeah, like at the time, like it wasn't feasible to manage it. It's easy to just kind of like put together songs, release it, and just throw it out there. But the reality of it is that at least in today's like Spotify like world, that just putting something out there is not enough. Like it does need to be marketed, it does need to be managed. And people know that. I didn't know that when I got into it. But yeah, I think now that I'm done with that season like of my life when it comes to Sarah Funky says we need to co-write. We have co-written, and it was a beautiful worship song, and I want to do more.
We'll make it happen for sure.
That song was very good.
You got what you wanted.
I was singing it the other day, actually. Like, I'm not going to lie.
I still listen to it too.
Yeah, it was very good.
I'm like,
Let's do
oh,
it.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, let's do it. But yeah, so I think now that season is over and like thinking about what to do next and everything, like I find myself at like what you're talking about on this platform, the risk of what am I going to risk going into this next season? What am I going to sacrifice? And in terms of, when it comes to building the kingdom of God, like
Right.
asking like, hey, like what God, like what should I be risking right now? What should I be sacrificing right now
Mhm.
to build your kingdom? Like um we're at a very interesting time in history,
Right.
where people actually are they're aware and they are listening and they are reflecting because they
Mm.
have to, like, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
so it's like, okay, like in a time like this, what does it look like to risk? What does it look like to sacrifice, and in terms of my art? And I think, yeah, that's something that's on my mind recently, and
Yeah.
stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah. Can't wait. We're ready. We're ready.
Thanks.
Just one more question before we
Yeah.
end. You touched about just the realization that you had with the fact that there's actually a lot that should go into putting out songs, and there's marketing, promotions, or
Hmm.
even just doing it well, making sure that you like the process. You've got a good producer, you've mastered everything. What would you say for um, someone who doesn't like know exactly, would you, okay, what's the question? The question is, would you rather wait till that's all done, or like you
Hmm.
found your people, and what would you say? Because I think where I stand on that particularly is that it's important how you put out something, because that's how
Yeah.
people will view you, especially if it's your first thing or anything in general. Like that's
Yeah.
going to be, not to put pressure on like yourself, but it's important how you say whatever you're saying, how you enter the
Yeah.
music scene or whatever. And so sometimes I feel like it's better to wait, to be patient, and
Hmm.
I don't know, like what's your
Yeah.
thoughts?
No, 100%. I think definitely like there are some things like if you're wanting to like release stuff out there like as an artist, particularly when it comes to music, definitely there are a lot of things to consider before you actually go to the point of release. Like think about like what your vision is, like what your brand is, like this, that, and the other, and what your sound is, and like get a couple of songs in the bag to choose from, and those are some things that like you are like thinking about beforehand. But I also think that sometimes creatives are very good at putting off their releases and coining it as patience,
Right.
when sometimes it could just
I've been
be
called out. You're just calling me out. Okay. Shots
um,
fired. Okay.
when sometimes it could just be fear. You know what I mean? And so I think
True.
um like have your checklist and everything, like, and there's plenty of resources out there. Like if you look up like on like if you literally
Mm,
type in on Google like things to consider before releasing music, there's a whole list. Like there's especially if you're doing it independently, like there's profiles that you got to verify, there's distribution that you have to go through, like all of these things. But like once you have the checklist, once you have the songs, once you like what you're hearing when it comes to like the mix and master and stuff like that, and once
yeah.
you have like some sort of release plan, like just go for it. You know what I mean? Like no one is going to give you permission
Right.
to release the art that you want to release. You kind of just have to go for it.
Good.
So yeah,
Love that.
that's that.
For that. Well, we're done for time. We're actually way past. Oh, so that's okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's been so fun. And yeah, I believe many people will listen to this even after, and will be encouraged in just taking the risk, and just keep honing on their gifts and stuff. So thank you,
Yeah,
John. It's been
Amen.
fun.
And thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this. Like this platform is so great. I love what you've been doing during
Thank you.
isolation and during all the COVID nonsense and stuff. And yeah, this has been really cool. So thanks so much.
Awesome. Cool, cool. All right. Bye. Peace out. See you guys next time.
See you, Hannah.
See y'all.